Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. This run through we specifically did the horror mode from the expansion Lost City of Z. I was like, what's that expansion called? And it is... This game is so hard. It's so brutal. Like, and I don't know what I expected when it's called horror mode, but...
An easier mode.
Yeah,
to die.
Granted, they're standalone from the expansion. They utilize some stuff from the like the campaign, like the conditions and the sanity track and all that. So all that is different from the base game where you have generic whatever, a cook, an explorer, and things like that. And you don't have a sanity meter to actually keep track of. You just have your health. But what I like about the horror mode is that you actually have lives. Like in the regular game, if you die, you just die.
And
the game's over. In this, if someone dies, you actually get to keep on going, which is a nice change of pace. But
it also indicates how difficult it is. And
that is true. And like what Kat said, I think
the fact that we didn't have to deal with weather told me it was hard.
Yeah, and I like that. I do feel that it's balanced. It feels... The horror mode doesn't feel any different than the regular. This game is just punishing, but in a thematic way. Like, it's not like just... I don't think it's hard for the sake of being hard, in my opinion. But this has been a game that has been a staple in my collection since I got into the hobby. Like, I had the first big brown box, and then I had the expansion where you actually... It was a mini campaign. You followed Charles Darwin, and they had different scenarios on what you did, because either getting evidence on plants or in animals and things like that, which was cool. Voyage of the Beagle is what it was called. Mm-hmm. And then second edition came out, streamlined the rules, gave you better upgraded components, more scenarios and things like that. So it's been around for a while. What did you guys think of Robinson Crusoe? Zach, we'll let you start since you're new to the channel.
I'll preface it with the gaming group that I play with does not like cooperative games at all. We tend to fight with each other a lot, so we never play these types of games. We played Arkham Horror once, and we argued for 3 hours and said we're never going to play anything like that again.
That is so weird. I never understood that. I see that a lot, where people are like, I just don't like cooperatives. I'm like, do you just hate people, or is
we play with someone in the group who tends to like quarterback? And,
I was going to say there's probably a domineering personality in the group.
Yeah. Having said that, I don't have much to compare it to, but I think I got the idea with the insanity track that this was going to be a Lovecraftian thing, and I roll my eyes a little bit because everybody does that, and I'm just like, we're going to do this again. I like the fact that they didn't focus on that. I also think the horror theme could be a lot heavier.
True.
If
you're going to have a specific
I'm a horror
mode.
fan, but like if you had a board with that art that's on that page on it, that would make this to me so much more interesting, just specifically because I'm into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I didn't like the first 25% of the game because I thought it was going to end immediately. And granted, it would have if I was just playing with what I know about the game, but you kind of led us through it, and I enjoyed the time that we had with it.
Yeah. The game is brutal from the start, and if I have one massive complaint about it is I have never played a game of Robinson Crusoe where you don't take a wound at the beginning of the game, because I don't think there's a way for you to build a shelter. Mm-hmm. So either you might get lucky and find enough food to kick off the game, but I don't, because of the future resources, the way that works, you won't ever have enough to build the shelter. So you start off the game already behind in terms of health. And I don't like that. In everything else, kind of where you were saying, the first 25%, you're like, well, the game's over. We lost our NPCs almost immediately. But then we started kicking back, started getting food, and we were able to keep going. We honestly weren't that far away from winning.
True.
Like,
probably 2 more turns we could have done.
We were so close, we forgot that the game was about to be done.
Yeah, like, we could have probably mathed it out and been like, oh, okay, we still need to find and that's what you were saying, we need to find the layers, and I was like, oh, we got time. And then I forgot, oh, wait, we still need to find it, and, because we could have killed this one and then the final round
Yeah.
killed it. But we were just one round behind. So we were doing pretty well, but yeah, the game can swing in so many different ways. But once again, I think in a fair in a fair way. I don't know. Brett, what do you think?
Well, as you just brought up, but I still think that fits with the original theme, Robinson Crusoe, of, shipwreck, and you start out brutal terrain, not enough food, not enough resources to do anything. You're going to take some hits. Then you start building up a civilization.
Yeah.
And that it fits with the theme, but it is a little disheartening to go on. How are we going to pull this off? There are ways to heal. You have to earn them. So
you can rest, and the bed, I believe, is... I'd have to look at the other side real quick. Yeah, so there are always these with the arrows on them. Those are always in the game.
Yeah.
You always have fire, you always have rope, you always have a shovel and things like that. The bed and everything else was random.
Right.
But yeah, you kind of look at it and it's like, okay, what inventions can we do or get that will help us in the future? Because you're always planning for the future rounds. I don't know. I like it. Like, this feels like... Because, like, it's hearkening to me like this War of Mine, which I think Kat's the only one. No, I don't even know if you've ever played. I think
no,
have you played this War? No, it's cooperative. I know you haven't.
No.
So this War of Mine is another very brutal cooperative game.
Once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you are civilians in a war-torn city, so you're trying to survive. You still need to get food and medicine, and the characters, no one controls a specific character. They're all just kind of neutral, that everyone kind of controls, but they can get hungry, they can get sad, they can get fatigued, and they all have these statuses that you have to deal with. In a similar vein of this, oh shit, everyone's hurt because they got shot. Like, now we need to go out and get bandages.
Right.
And it's similar to that. But Brett, yeah, what do you think of the overall game?
I'm going to say it's a little bit difficult for me to evaluate, particularly the theme, because this is my first time playing.
Sure.
And I totally understand the island exploration theme, and I totally understand the horror theme, and yes, they do not layer very well this way.
No.
Conceptually, you can go, yes, we're exploring different areas of a city, or we're exploring different buildings, trying to find the cult temples, but the artwork doesn't lend itself to that, and, I wouldn't want to buy a completely different game with a completely different artwork on it.
Oh, right, yeah, no.
Practically.
They essentially only gave you the scenario to have the horror mode.
Right.
Granted, all these decks are based off of that,
Yeah.
so there's completely different decks that are more island feeling.
Yeah.
I brought the other scenarios out just to kind of explain what they actually come with. But yeah, the horror mode I only did because it's Halloween.
No, I got
it's
it.
coming up, and
And it was cool.
yeah, it's there in a very, very thin theme.
Yeah.
Only in kind of the flavor text that sometimes comes up.
I think the scenario just in general is a giant horror. So if I
Well, it's either survival horror, or in this case, it's monster fighting horror.
I mean, if my ship crashed, I'd be like, guys, you may execute me and use me for food.
Nah, I would try to survive for as
I
long
wouldn't,
as possible.
and that's great. I wouldn't.
Well, we've already got a leg up.
Yeah.
And an arm to gnaw on.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
No, in terms of the horror mode, the only thing that I absolutely hated were the cultists.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
the
that
fact that you
sucks.
The
didn't
fact
know when they were gonna
that
pop
they
up.
start off shuffled into the beast deck.
Yeah.
Like, there were already events that caused them to get shuffled in, and that's fine. Like, that would have been okay. Take a cultist and shuffle into the
It's
hunting.
an increasing threat.
Yeah, and it's like, our very first thing that we hunted was a cultist, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it would be even, like, if they wanted to do that, I would almost say, like, if you fight a cultist, you have to fight that, but then you get to draw again. Like, because we're not hunting cultists, they just happen to show up. I don't get why.
It's why while we're hunting, we just stumble upon one. We're
That's
not
fine.
looking for him.
Sure, but okay, we stumble upon one, we fight him, we get...
He was looking for
But
him.
mechanically, it's especially difficult because we don't have the right weaponry, and
Yeah.
there's no way we can get them at that
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah, and it's like, if they want to have a start that way where they just show up and it's like, oh fuck, we gotta fight this guy, and we kill him, well, that doesn't mean we're all like, oh, I guess we're not gonna go get for food anymore. Like, we could still draw again and kill and fight a monster. It just makes it harder because we took some hits that we weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Or just don't have them in the deck at all until events cause you to shuffle them in, like this one, like the Bloody Struggle. Draw 1 card from the Cultist deck and 1 from the Beast deck. Now they are in there, and now it's a problem versus just already, because that you are just set so far back when you spend 2 people to go hunt and you don't get food out of it.
Yep.
And you still get hurt. You know, I really hated the cultists of that. It was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I don't think I would do horror mode again. Like you said, it's there. Like, if you're gonna do horror mode, okay, you now have. I mean, you honestly make a whole new game.
Yeah.
Like, you have everything.
And that prisoner variant, I see it lending itself much more adequately to how the story of Robinson Crusoe. It makes sense.
Oh, the other scenario?
Yeah.
The convict
and
one?
I don't know how much, like, if there's another deck of cards or, like, what you actually add to it, but...
No, everything about Robinson Crusoe is really on the scenario sheet.
Yeah.
So, like, the only thing that makes it kind of thematic is you now have different... you have different items you can craft. These special symbols, like the weird traffic things.
Yeah.
Those are now different, and kind of what you have to do overall to win, and what totems mean, and things like that. All that's what makes it more thematic. But yeah, and then you have the madness cards from the exploration decks, and then in this particular one, you had the mystical beasts that get shuffled in. Which, I mean, I like the fact, really, the hardest part was killing the cultists. Like, once you got to the beast, you could have rolled and been like, oh, killed it.
Yeah.
Which I actually would have. It's just, okay, cool, you just defeat him. Mm-hmm. And then that's that, so it made it a little bit easier. Kat, what do you think of Robinson Crusoe?
Boy, do I not like it that much.
Why don't you just... you don't like any games anymore. What
know,
happened to you? Shawson is a 4. Intrepid was a 3.
I don't like math, so I'm just not going to like
okay,
that
well,
one.
this isn't math, and it's not heavy politics.
It's just long.
It is long.
It's just
it is a
long.
game.
It's a long time to lose.
Yeah.
Because it's so fucking hard. Mm-hmm. So you're just... I mean, like... How long have we been down here? Like, I've lost track of time. How old am I?
It's yeah.
9 days we made it.
Yeah. It's true.
Which is,
it's about 3 hours.
It's about 3 hours, and I could be doing other things.
Sure.
And
but you could make that argument for literally
anything. Yes. However, this is a consistent trend. And that's my piece. That's my soapbox.
Well, so it's a long time to not be really enjoying something, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have really strong opinions today, so I might be, a little too rough on it. But.
So in terms of the mechanics, in terms of the survival, because everything about the game is Robinson Crusoe.
Well,
the only thing that was different is the theme, really. Like, and the fact that, most of these exploration decks were just, they happen. Yeah. Like, that was actually, I love the fact about Robinson Crusoe. If you read it, oh, hey, I can do this, but if I do, it gets shuffled in.
Yeah.
That was few and far between. Most of the cards in the base game are that, which adds a little bit more atmosphere, way more theme. Because I do think this game is incredibly thematic. Yeah. Just the horror mode kind of sucked.
I think I was going to say this earlier, because I don't think I'm going to have anything to add that, like, hasn't been added yet, necessarily. Because, like, mechanically, it's a fine game. When it came down to us, like you mentioned it earlier, where we start the game and we're already behind, like when we went hunting, because that's what you're gonna do when you are probably when you're stranded somewhere.
Because you might risk it. You're like,
go
okay,
hunt something. Yeah, you're like, okay, well, we need food. Like,
mm-hmm.
And the fact that we're already behind, and then we immediately found a cultist,
mm-hmm.
It puts us double behind. And this is not the game where you can be double Jeopardy, like you can't.
Right.
So I would say that kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
No weather was nice. No weather, because we did not have to spend wood on a roof or anything.
Again, though, I hold to it. No weather was nice because the game knew that we were getting fucked over in a different way. It's just a different problem.
Yeah, I mean that was a good decision on the designer's part. Is we got to eliminate something.
Yeah.
Yes. Look,
all right, they're gonna lose. They'll never play this scenario again if we don't give them.
Yeah.
The other thing that was different about the horror mode, which I don't really like, is they kind of compensate for... So your character has 2 abilities. And you have NPCs that have abilities. So everyone kind of has 4. But your regular people already have 4. And a special item to build. So in this case, the cook can build the fireplace for 2 determination. Yep. But like, he has Grandma's recipe, discard 2 to heal 2 by eating 1 food. Scrounger, discard 2 to reroll any gray die during your action. Stone Soup, discard 3 to get 1 food. Hooch, discard 3 to negate 1 cloud or change 1 snow into a rain. So everyone already has 4 abilities. Yeah. I think this is superior to anything about this.
I didn't use my abilities once throughout the entire game.
That is true.
That's also true.
Like there was a better option.
Mm-hmm. Well, mainly because we also had morale low all the entire time, so we had to kind of hold them. Thanks to the cultist, because we had to kind of, okay, we need these to survive that. But yeah, I don't like the characters. I like the fact that if they go insane, they have special cards that get shuffled in. Mm-hmm. But the chances of these ever getting drawn are very, very low. So I would have much rather just played with these characters than the actual ones. But like I said before, Kat rudely interrupted me.
What? When?
I'm kidding.
When you asked her opinion.
No, I was done after that. I was moving on.
Opinion.
No. So
Fair.
Everything else about the game is Robinson Crusoe. Mm-hmm. Did you guys like how the game actually played? Like with the basically the programmable actions?
It just felt like worker placement.
It is worker
placement. So I mean, like,
yeah.
is that what that means?
No. Worker. It is worker placement. These are workers, but essentially, the programming part is the fact that you place them and then you do them all in a row.
Oh, I like that. It feels very organized to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's got the possibility, in your case, of something screwing up a future choice. Like you died before you had a chance to heal.
Yeah.
Just simply because of the order.
Right.
So you can dictate the flow. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And that's part of the strategy is, well, like I was thinking, is there any way we can improve weapons before I go hunting? Not by building, because that comes later.
Yeah. Right.
But we can if I go here. That'll give me a buffer.
Yeah. It's and it all makes thematic sense. I'm going hunting. Like, okay, we all wake up. All right, you go hunt. I'm going to improve our weapons. And it's like, okay, well, what am I going to hunt with? I don't know. Wait till tomorrow when I finish my fucking weapons. Yeah. Like, it all makes sense, and I like the fact that at the end of the day, after everyone does their actions, it's just like, okay, here's all the food I got. Here's all that. Hey, I found a spell, you know. It really works. Zach, what do you think?
I see it as it's just a bunch of options to take actions that, again, don't really... For me, there's no endorphin rush by doing anything. It's just like, I did a thing. You know, like, the fact that you can help someone take an action is, to me, it's just kind of like you're not taking that action, so you're just watching a board game be played kind of as a group. And if you're not particularly invested in it. Robinson Crusoe is not really, like, it's not a book that I read in high school. It's not something that I'm particularly interested in. I saw, like, movies of it that were made in the 60s, and that's the last time I've interacted with that book, so I don't... not for me, but... it was interesting, and I'd probably play it again. Yeah.
With actual scenarios that fit
that
the
seems
fit
a lot
the theme.
more interesting than
and they are all absolutely unique. The new edition, which will be coming out, early next year, probably middle of next year. It's coming with an actual like scenario book. I think if I remember right, there's like 40 scenarios.
Wow.
Like they went gangbusters on that, and it's an actual bounded book, which is super nice, and just having these off to the side, and there's a bunch of other stuff that are coming with it.
That's cool.
The Robinson Crusoe theme is something that I've never read the book or watched any of the movies, and I've always just kind of looked at it as it's a title, like, because to me this is this island survival, like it's Gilligan's Island, it's whatever, Lost, yeah. And it ended kind of like Lost does, really shitty. No.
Just went on a little too long.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I am invested because Kat was saying the organization of the actions makes sense. It's but you are right. It's like me taking my 2 people and hunting is not a whole lot different than you and me going hunting.
What it does is it allows one person to be superior in different areas.
Yeah. Or it's like, man, I'm
depending
gonna...
on their
like,
strengths and depending on their current situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. based off the actions that they have and the determination tokens that they have. Yeah, but ultimately, especially at the beginning of the game, everyone can just really take their 2 and just go do their 1 action. But I do love the divide and conquer aspect. Hey, we can, do, like, we all have 2, so we have 8. We can do 4 actions, or we can do 8, and really just maybe
Yeah.
potentially up to 8.
Yeah.
That's always been fascinating to me.
Yeah. I like that mechanic, that idea. Again, as opposed to other games where either you make your commitments, then you roll the dice, and no shit, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Or
But at
or
least
you make your commitments and it's automatic.
You are at least always compensated for an
Failing.
action. You either get determination, which is good to have.
Yeah.
You'd rather succeed, but
Yeah.
at least it's not. At least there's no blank,
Yeah.
which is extremely frustrating. You may or may not get wounded. There is a 1 in 6 chance. No, 2 in 6 chance. So 1 in 3 chance you won't get wounded, and a 1 in 6 chance that you won't have an event. So you could get the superior roll of just succeeding,
Yeah.
but it works because I actually like rolling the dice. Because I mentioned this earlier. I love the make a decision and then it could come back to haunt you. Like, that is so fascinating. I just can't believe that has not been in any other game. To my knowledge, there is no. The closest thing I can think of is Dead of Winter with its Crossroads deck, where you draw it and there's a trigger on it, and that may or may not happen.
Got it.
It's like, oh, and there's somewhere it's like if anyone scratches their head or if anyone yawns, then this goes off. Or if this person moves to the police station. So I have it and it's your turn, and I just sit there and wait for you to do something, and then you go to the police station. I'm like, oh, okay. That's the closest thing I can think of to make a decision, get a good benefit, and then it comes back later, and it's usually bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of anything specific. It feels a little familiar, but I can't place where I.
Okay.
It's a little butterfly
Where I got it from.
effect.
But it is cool, and it is part of the strategy of, do I want to do this now? Do I want to do this later? Do I want to skip it entirely?
Yeah, and you could play it either way. I always cover the bottom because I like the theme of you don't know what would happen if you made that decision.
Yeah.
Or you could really try and strategize it and be like, okay, if I eat this berry, I'll heal, but I will also die from dysentery.
Oregon Trail, that's the one.
It's like, I don't like that because I think that kind of metas the game a little bit too much, and then it becomes very just kind of mathy. And this game's strength is its theme.
I just think realistically also, like, if someone were to put, like, just literally, like, if I were to go to a restaurant, someone puts food in front of me and I have the option, like, eat, don't eat, and I hit eat, and it's, 15-day-old pork or whatever, and I eat it, and I'm not going to know.
I mean, you probably should. You'd have common sense. Because you can also listen, or, like, try and because every
that
decision...
goes along with the scenarios, too. Yeah, you can kind of common sense it out and be like, this is wanting me to go into a dark cave where I heard screaming. I don't think I will.
It's like, I might find something down there, but is that worth being cursed and forced to slaughter my friends in a manic state? I don't know.
No,
I kind of don't like them.
Jerry didn't let me eat last night, so...
Yeah. So, the game is extremely long. It's very thematic normally. The horror mode doesn't really lend itself too much. It doesn't really lean into it.
Well, one other thing that I really contrast with other strategic cooperative games is they tend to fall into two camps as far as rising and falling action.
Okay.
There are the ones that, when it's the bad stuff happens, the whole thing looks overwhelming and totally hopeless. And then the players take their turn and they go, oh, actually, this isn't so bad. We've done a lot of that. A lot of horror-themed or a lot of survival-type games tend to have that. Pandemic or Zombicide, it's like, oh, we got a whole bunch of crap, there's no way. And then we clear them out and I go, you know what? This is good.
Yeah, all right, we're doing great.
Or there's the ones that we've played that are just kind of like the slow, steady grind down to, are we going to live through it?
Yeah.
It's simply an endurance test.
Yeah.
This one does both in a really odd way.
I guess it does,
Because it starts out hopeless, And then suddenly you get a little bit of hope, and then you grind. Oh, we gotta get it again, but not every turn.
Yeah.
It takes 2 or 3 to build up to. Oh, we're actually doing. We all healed almost completely in turn 7.
Yeah, like almost over halfway through the game.
But when we're taking on the worst things, and our weapons are getting better, everything we fight makes them worse.
Yeah, it kind of breaks them. Yeah, that's actually true. And once again, I think that's thematic. Granted, the other ways are thematic too. Like Pandemic, for example, there's outbreaks everywhere, and then you go and deal with them.
Yeah.
Or Last Bastion or Ghost Stories. It's like, okay, yeah, we start off really strong in our tower, but they keep bringing more and more enemies in, so we're getting exhausted. But every time we kill someone replaces it.
Yeah.
I prefer the Pandemic route. I like that roller coaster kind of feel. And this one I don't know.
It's just a little elongated.
Yeah.
It's not every turn, but every 2 or 3 turns you get that jump and change.
Yeah. The other thing that I like about this, and this goes against kind of your your group's mentality, I don't think you can quarterback this.
I think you can.
I absolutely think you
I know, because no, listen to me.
Listen to me, the quarterback.
I think we know who the quarterback is.
That's not true. I asked all of you what you wanted to do.
I know.
No, I think because there's so many options, every option is correct.
I think, though, it is easy if one person is getting ready for my bullshit. I think it would be easy that if somebody has a strong personality, like if I'm like, oh, well, I think it's a good idea to go, and I state my case, whatever, and I want to go here, and you're like, okay, but you could be, and you give me all my other options. It's easy if another person who has a little personality can get a little peer pressured, maybe.
Well, sure, but I'm
same
very much leaning
in most cooperative games. I'd say.
I'm very much leaning into the Z Garcia method, because a lot of people think that games cause quarterbacking. It's not. It's that person.
I don't think so. And this is complex enough that there's not a clear strategy of how to achieve it.
That's what I'm saying. In this case, it's like, oh, what if I rest? Or it's like, yeah, that's a good option. Here's other options.
Yeah. On the other hand,
oh, what if I gather? That's also a good option.
Yeah, but if we don't start exploring, we're not gonna.
Yep. It's like and because you can split up pawns, it's like, okay, well, I was gonna for sure explore. All right, I'll risk it so we can go here. I'll explore, and then I'll go to the camp.
Yeah.
I think you can quarterback any game.
Sure.
But you can also...
You can also not play with that person.
Exactly. Like, you can be a strong personality, or you can not be a strong personality. It's as easy as that. And you're going to have that in every gaming group. So.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't think it's a flaw of the game. It's
a flaw of a person.
Or of the cooperative nature of any...
Because at the end of the day, it's like, I know people tend to try to avoid conflict, but if someone... It's like, well, I want to go rest. And they're like, no, you really need to go explore.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping that person from being like, no, I think I'm going to rest.
Yeah.
And unless that person actually gets physical, then you just kill them.
It doesn't have to... Well, sure.
I'm sorry. I'm the one with the gun.
It doesn't have to be physical, but if people just start to catch an attitude, again, though, that's not the game's fault. It's just the player interaction. So,
or in this case, I definitely deferred to your judgment on a couple of occasions. Not that you brought it up, but that I would ask or I would suggest some things. Simply because I know you're more experienced, and I really don't know what there is. But I understand that they're all viable options at any given moment.
So I guess this one, it doesn't lend itself to quarterbacking. I feel like Pandemic definitely does, because if you've played that game a lot, you're going to know kind of the intricacies of what most likely will happen.
Yeah.
And you can be like, well, I want to go over here and clear this out. It's like, yes, but you can actually go do this, and that will prevent all the outbreaks from happening. Because there's usually a couple good options to choose from.
Yeah.
In this game, every option makes sense. Because there were times where I'm sitting here and I'm like, we need to hunt or we need to explore, and Zach's like, what if I build these two things? It's like, yeah, I mean, those are good things to build right now because
we're going to need them.
Because we're going to need them.
Right.
So, which I like.
So then you might even say this game needs someone who can assist with putting people on track.
I would not want to play this with an experienced group.
Yeah.
No.
I would not want to buy the game, show a bunch of friends, hey, let's try this.
Yeah.
This is a really light game.
It is rough, because this is a game that where what you do on your turn is very simple. And to understand the game also works relatively well, and I think it's pretty digestible. But there's a lot of things like, okay, if you can't pay for a resource, then you lose a health. Except, if you want to do this, you can, except. There's always one little rule that I know for a fact. Actually, I think we did at the very beginning. Whenever we revealed this tile, I saw the beast icon and I put a beast in, and we fought the warrior, which we wouldn't have fought initially because that's the production sign. So being on that with a camp, we get a food and we have a potential to hunt a beast,
Gotcha.
which I started correcting later on. Right. But that's just one of those things that this game, it's like Euro-y with a good mix of Ameritrash because it's so thematic. It does rely on luck, but it's not necessarily roll to resolve. I mean, yeah, I guess this can be, but there's ways to around that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I find it to be kind of a perfect blend game. That the theme, yeah, sure, it's called Robinson Crusoe, but you don't play as Robinson. Friday's the only reference of a character that I actually know.
You don't get to play as Crusoe either.
No, but you do get to play as Cursed.
Yes! Whose island?
The very obscure, he's the small bit character. But the other scenarios I wanted to bring up are the very first one that everyone recommend, like to start out, is called Castaways. Mm-hmm. This is you wash up on the shore, and then your goal is to get a bunch of wood to build to win the game, to build up a fire pit, and then it does
signal rescue ship or something.
Yes, there's a ship by rounds 10, 11, and 12. Right. But then in rounds 4, 5, and 6, you start having rain, and then from then on you have rain, snow, and all that up until the end of the game. So it does incorporate everything.
Yeah. Well, it gives you time to build up a shelter to get there.
Right, exactly. The Cursed Island, I've actually never played this one, but this kind of deals more with like really kind of what in the belly of the beast. You have a cross and sacred bell and things that you're trying to deal with. Jenny Needs Help was the scenario we did.
Fuck Jenny.
This one sucks. This is the one we did on the channel at the very beginning. Basically, Jenny is stranded on an island or on a rock out in the ocean, and you have to build a raft and get to her, but she loses health. And every time I've done this one, I'm sitting there and I'm like, bitch, you better just jump into that ocean and swim. Like, it's you versus us. But Jenny needs something to have Volcano Island. Oh, I've also done this one. I don't remember what you have to do. You
surf.
Fist fight a volcano.
You have to explore certain number of tiles. Oh, then you have to build the jolly boat where you get your jollies off.
Ew. I didn't like that.
But there's a volcano that is erupting. Then you have Cannibal Island.
Yay.
Of course.
And yep. So there's just cannibals, and then Family Robinson. I don't know anything about that one, but
Swiss Family Robinson was a story of basically, I think it was people who just went on a ship and just went off to an island and started building their house and their life.
Oh, okay.
As a family.
Gotcha.
Well, they also got shipwrecked.
Maybe it was a
and
shipwreck.
they were like, you know what? We live here now.
I mean, this game should have just been called Adventures on the Cursed Island, like, because Robinson Crusoe is like, if that's not the same family, if that's not, is that the same?
Well, is that the same last name?
Well, I mean, is every Smith the same? You fucking racist.
Well, this is Crusoe versus Robinson.
But this is Family Robinson.
As far as I know, they have no relation.
No one's gonna say this is Family Seth.
No, it's Family Robin. No, it's a Family Robinson Crusoe.
I think they were both written before intellectual property.
Exactly. And then they have King Kong Island.
Cool.
That's cool.
So, and they have so many different scenarios that once again, it's just a stranded island theme.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't think horror mode is worth it. I think it actually takes more than it gives. Mm-hmm. So, but goddamn, did Anne Gillespie really get it on with Krampus? That was a real thing that happened. It was in the books.
Writing about that in my diary tonight.
It was in the sequel.
It was in the book. It's a whole chapter dedicated to Anne.
This whole novel is really graphic.
Is this
50 Shades of Krampus? Do not go in that cave.
Merry Christmas.
Are those icicles dripping? No, what the fuck is that?
Sticky.
Oh,
Ew.
look, I got us some flavor for the pot food. Anyway.
Put a little flavor in the pot.
Do you guys got anything else you want to bring up? Likes, dislikes, more negatives?
I think that did it.
Cool. All right.
It's got nice artwork. It's pretty.
He's pretty. Yeah.
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 It's a beast. It's a beast of a game.
Oh, you mentioned before the setup. Was that distracting for you, or?
The setup was just more. I mean, it just changed because of the.
Time-consuming.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty heavy game to set just because you have a lot of extra stuff, a lot of extra tokens. I mean, these tokens right here are for permanent wounds. Like, it'll tell you if you take a wound you have on your chart right here. If you're like poisoned or something, it'll tell you where to put it, and you have to get. That's where medicine comes in to be able to get rid of it. You have different weather tokens, just like, I mean, because in the horror mode, yeah, the white paint we never needed. The madness, the sanity track is just, I think it's just more annoying to deal with. I'd much rather just deal with health.
Yeah.
Because there's so much else you have to deal with. Also, sanity just being a thing is just kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really think of anything else to bring up. I think we touched on a lot of stuff, so unless you guys have anything else to mention. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, we'll start with Kat, and we'll go around.
Well, you put me on the spot because I actually wasn't thinking about a rating. I'm gonna give it a natural instinct. For me, a 5.
Wow. I hate you.
Hey, it's above a 4, so we're gonna...
Yeah, you're going up. You're going up in the world with that. All right, Zach?
For me, as far as how much I enjoyed it, I'd give it a 5.
Okay.
If I was rating it for people who were into co-op games, I would say 6.5, but that's just purely because I don't know much about it because I've only played it once.
Right.
I'd have to play it probably 3 times to get a good idea of how everything works.
Right. All right. Brett?
I agree. I'd want to play it a couple more times to give it a better evaluation. So first impression is, as an overall game of this type, I would say 8.
Oh, okay.
For me personally, more like a 5.
Okay.
It's just got too many complexes and too many options to consider at any given time. Nice that we're all working together, so I could take or leave.
Yeah. So I was actually happy that we had a good mix because, yeah, you two have only played this once, and a lot of people hear about this game, and they're like, oh, I'll pick it up. This is one I would never recommend to, if it's like, we love co-ops, it's like, yeah, there's other co-ops you can play.
Anything that starts with the word forbidden, start there.
That's true, except Forbidden Sky. That's also equally hard.
But you work your way up to
But
it.
on that note, I played Forbidden Sky. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And it's partially because the time that I invested in it was worth the payoff that I got.
True.
And the components are cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot in this, and it's daunting. And you have to make that initial investment to learn it, and then the initial investment to play it, and then you don't know where that's going to go afterwards.
Yeah, especially because I think whenever I was packing this, like setting it out, you were over here, and you're like, oh, is this a long game? And I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, it's not scenario-based, which I think in the new version, they actually have, like, a time limit. I don't quote me on that, but I think with all the scenarios, they do give you kind of a rough estimate on how long each would take, which is good because, I mean, it totally makes sense to think you're going to get, I mean, most co-ops, could just be about an hour. But when you triple that and you're not planning on tripling that, it could be, and then only to kind of lose at the end could be like, wow, did I just waste 3 hours? Which normally I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that, except that we actually did come close to winning.
Yeah.
And like the Loop, for example, is a cooperative game that's really hard, and it has a like a token tower in the middle that you drop, and then they kind of randomize, and you have no control over that. My friend Devin was frustrated about it, and I'm like, I would much rather have a hard co-op.
Yeah.
Because if it's an easy co-op and you win, it's like, okay, this game's done.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't want a hard for the sake of being hard. It has to make sense. You have to have a chance, or at least feel like you have a chance the entire time.
Yeah.
And be aware of that. Last Bastion is a great example of us being like, it's like, we never knew if we had a chance.
Yeah.
It's just, well, let's hope.
A lot of random.
And here it's like, okay, yes, we're losing, but we can do this to heal. We can do this to gain morale. Okay, or we don't. Let's not raise morale, but we can get you tokens, and you can strategize to mitigate the difficulty.
Yeah, and that's why I split my rating. Personal versus.
Yeah. So I absolutely love this game. It definitely isn't one I bring out all the time. It's been a long time since I have played it because it's hard to find people who want to play it. I would never play this solo because I'm not going to control 4 characters. Like, I just don't want to do that. Right. I enjoy the interaction with players, get immersing into the theme based off the scenario that's coming out. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. It's stuck around. I went all in on the new Kickstarter, so I'm very excited about that. And I have played it a lot. So Kat has played it. I think actually about as many times as I have, because I've never not played this without you around.
I've been present for all of it.
Yeah. So we're the more experienced ones, and so you get a differentiation of scores with that, and then 2 new players, which I specifically wanted to bring in, because it's like, because you both are gamers. We game on a weekly basis, so it wasn't one where it's like, I've only played Hearts, and then you're like, oh, what about this monster of a game? No, you guys have played complex games before. This is really no different. But yeah, that's actually an interesting array of scores. I think it's triple 5s and then my lone outlier of a 9.
Well, I agree with you in spirit.
Question for Zach, though. Do you think that this would be higher if we actually did one of the actual base scenarios? And not the horror mode where we actually had.
You resented the horror theme that much.
I think both my personal score
I think that's what the 6.5 was.
I think my personal score could go up to a 6, and my overall score could go up to a 7.5.
Oh, okay.
But that's probably as high as I'd go, just from my initial judgment. But I have no idea, really.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, I haven't played it enough, so it's hard to say.
True.
But the King Kong, and, like, there's a couple other ones that you mentioned that sound really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
More interesting than the horror. Because on paper, that sounds great, but the influence it had in the game was just...
annoying more than anything. Yeah, I didn't really like the horror mode either.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that is our thoughts on Robinson Crusoe. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.